Hi, today this is Pamela with the Encourage Your Wellness podcast. And today we have Bonnie. She is founder and owner of Blissfully Better, a women-owned business after her daughter was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. After discovering coconut nectar in Bali, she knew it would be the way she could create premium tasting chocolate confections with a nutrient-rich and low-glycemic sweetener combined with whole food, organic ingredients to deliver a rich and delicious and very indulgent taste. And so thank you so much, Bonnie, for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
So tell us a little bit more about this journey you're on and the chocolates and how they come from. And, you know, starting a chocolate company sounds like kind of fun too. Some of the trials and errors you've had along the way.
Sure. Yeah, it's great to have a chocolate company. Everybody is happy when you come to dinner and you bring your chocolates. It has been a fun journey. Of course, every business journey has its challenges. But for me, it started, as you mentioned, with my daughter being diagnosed with prediabetes when she was 9 years old. And, you know, just the realization that I did not want her to live her life with diabetes and have to be on insulin and head down that path. So it became important to me to find a sweetener that I could make things for her with that tasted good and was low glycemic so that she wouldn't have the spikes in the blood sugar. And so that was a difficult search at the time. I didn't find a lot of things out there in the marketplace that fit that criteria. So I started searching online and I found this company that was based in Bali, Indonesia, and they were harvesting coconuts from the flowers of the coconut trees, which is a nectar, and that it was delicious, low glycemic, had a high nutrition profile, amino acids and antioxidants. I was like, whoa, this sounds too good to be true. So I decided, well, I better go to Bali and see what that's like. So that was a fun journey, halfway around the world. And Bali's a beautiful place for anybody who has not been there. It is just magical, spiritual, lovely people, and rich with many, many kind of exotic fruits and vegetables. And one of them being the coconut. And so I learned from that trip that this really was a wonderful sweetener with a low glycemic index of 35. Anything below 55 is considered low glycemic. So I came back to the States and I started making things for her so that when she would go to school, she could bring something when other kids were having donuts that she would enjoy, or cupcakes, or, you know, all the things that kids indulge in with their sports and their schools, birthdays, etc. So, you know, I was really happy with the sweetener but frustrated that I couldn't find anything on the shelves at that time that had coconut nectar in it, which is also coconut sugar because it crystallizes when you heat it into a sugar. So now there are things on the shelf like that, but then there was not.
Yeah. So when people are going to, you know, the Trader Joe's, the Sprouts, the grocery stores, you know, wherever you are, you will see coconut sugar now. Are there different types of coconut sugar? I mean, do people need to be aware of one coconut sugar that might be of a certain quality versus another? I mean, is that something to be concerned about?
No, there really aren't. I mean, some people call it coconut palm sugar, coconut nectar, but it's all from the same place, from the flower and the coconut tree.
I mean, there's a lot of data out there now about the additional nutrients that are in coconut oil and some of the other things that there really is a lot to this. So how in the world did you figure out coconut sugar was okay versus, I mean, I'd love to get into your thoughts around stevia, monk fruit, dates, what's okay, what's not, how do you know?
Right, right. Well, the company that I went to visit in Bali, a company named Big Tree Farms, they were really a leader in that industry, and they would send the nectar out to be tested to find out what the GI level was. And when I started making my product, I was sending it out to be tested as well to make sure that, it was what I thought it was, with the ingredients that we were putting together with it. But I do a lot of research myself on what the different sweeteners are and benefits and drawbacks. And as you mentioned in stevia, most stevia has a monk fruit component that people are not aware of. And there's been a lot of medical research that has shown that monk fruit has some disruptions with cardiovascular health. I'm not here to give you all the facts about that. It's just something that's becoming more and more apparent. But for me also, I wanted something that was going to taste really good so that you wouldn't be compromising on that. First, because my daughter wouldn't enjoy it if it didn't. And I did try to make things with stevia, and it was very difficult, and she didn't like the taste. And personally, I really only want to eat something that I like the taste of as well. So, the low glycemic index level was the most important thing to me. There's a lot of other good sweeteners out there, as you mentioned, dates, which, a lot of people like to use, and honey. Those are not low glycemic. So,
and maple syrup, probably not. Maple syrup's probably not low glycemic either, is it?
I don't think so. I haven't researched it that deeply. I mean, I did look into it as whether this was something I would use, and it wasn't. So I don't know the glycemic index, but I believe it's not a low glycemic sweetener. It's pure, and I think the reason why, but dates and honey and maple syrup have really come on as sweeteners that are being used more is because they're pure sweeteners. They're not refined. And a lot of times it's that process of refining a food that causes a lot of the issues people end up having in their bodies with eating that food.
So when you get the nectar, is it processed into sugar in Bali before it's shipped to you, or do you bring the raws into the States? Talk to us about the manufacturing and process.
Sure. Well, it's not a processed sweetener, regardless of whether it's traveling or not. If you go on my website, you'll see pictures of, the people climbing up these trees to gather the nectar from the flowers. And then it gets poured into a vessel that looks kind of like a big wok, and with fire underneath, and stirred and stirred and stirred and stirred. And then it's crystallized into a sugar, and that sugar is sifted to make sure impurities come out. And then it's put into what is similar to a dehydrator to make sure that the moisture is lessened, because it's a very moist product and it'll all clump and stick together. And so that's what comes over from Bali, and Philippines also produce the product as well. And then the nectar is not toyed with. It's sold as the nectar. So it's a clean process, and it's not refined, which is very
and then is it always a crystallized form, or do you ever find that it's liquid or powdered? I mean, me and maybe others are just kind of curious about coconut sugars. We learn about this a little bit more.
Right. Well, it's crystallized or it's a nectar. I mean, in our production, depending on our products, we use just the crystallized sugar itself, or we use the crystallized sugar and the nectar because of the consistency of what we're creating. So it's more likely that you'll find the crystallized coconut sugar on shelves in stores. In fact, I don't think there's a store that it's not in any more of the major chains. I mean, it was in Whole Foods, way down on the bottom shelf when I first started looking for it. The nectar is very hard to buy in stores. But the sugar,
is nectar similar to a consistency of like a honey?
Yes, it's a little bit less thick than a honey. More like a maple syrup, probably.
And what kind of color? Lighter or darker?
It's a caramel color.
Yeah.
And so it's the sugar. And so that's, if you're going to be making a vanilla cake, it's going to be more brown than a yellow, like it normally would be. Yeah. So when you're cooking with it, for instance, our toasted coconut thins are very similar to a Mounds, except the center is not white. It's got the golden color from the color of the sugar and nectar.
Yeah. So tell us some of your favorite products. What are you selling now?
Well, we have two different lines. We have our thins line, which the original recipe that I started the company with was almond toffee thins. And my mother had a recipe for a candy she made every Christmas. We call it Christmas candy. And it was a almond toffee covered in chocolate chips, which were milk chocolate chips. But everybody loved it. It was fabulous. And I would make it for my children's teachers every year. And as my children graduated to the next grade, the teacher would say, "Oh, I loved having Kate in the class, but am I still going to get your Christmas candy?" They didn't want to not get it the next year. So I started with that one and, surrounded it with 72% dark chocolate, which we have made for us, of course, with the coconut sugar versus refined sugar. And it's chock full of almonds, heart healthy almonds, and then has that nice crunch to it. So, that line, we have two different toffees. We won the Good Food Award for the crunchy quinoa toffee. And then we have a sea salt caramel thin. We have a toasted coconut. We have a mint melt-away. And then we have a bonbons line, which is a snackable, poppable snack. It's just little round chocolate covered peanut butter or caramel or toasted coconut centers. It's paleo friendly, it's plant-based. So that's what we've got right now. We've got lots of things we want to do in the future, but we're thrilled with what we've created so far.
Well, that's awesome. And then when you're making the chocolate, obviously a large differentiating part is the coconut sugar. What are some of the other ingredients that you use or are chosen not to use?
We don't use very many ingredients in any of our products. There are 3 to 6 organic, clean ingredients, and that's, we're very dedicated to that. But within our chocolate, we have, of course, the cacao, 72%, and we have the cocoa butter, which gives it a wonderful gloss and mouthfeel. And we're generous to make sure we're using that versus a lot of the fillers. We don't have any soy, nothing but vanilla. And that's what makes up the chocolate.
Sounds delicious. Mm-hmm. Where do you manufacture?
We manufacture in Chicago. Yeah. And then it's shipped really all over the country. We're in a lot of specialty stores across the country. We sell in numerous e-commerce platforms. Some really interesting ones that have been popping up, which, there's one called Bubble Goods, and they only sell the products that have unrefined sugar and very clean products. And there's a lot of places where consumers can find more of the things that that they're drawn to and learn about other products there that they didn't know existed.
That's super. So where are some of the more popular places that people can find you and other clean products like this?
Well, on e-commerce, there's one called Flip, which is a very interesting one we just started on. And we're on Amazon. We're on QVC. We've been on QVC a few times, and we're glad the community of QVC shoppers enjoys buying our products even, well after the fact. We have some new ones coming up that we're going to be hopping on soon, which we'll have on our website. And then we're just in a lot of specialty markets across the country. So if you go to our website at blissfullybetter.com, you'll find out a lot more about where we are and about our ingredients and sustainability, and follow the journey.
So what kind of suggestions would you give for people that might find out that they're pre-diabetic, and kind of potential next steps on what you can do and how to still enjoy eating and food, but still get plenty of nutrition? And
well, I think to be a health aware eater, regardless of whether you're pre-diabetic, I think, we all should be aware of what we're putting in our body. It's fueling us, it's creating our futures. But I also think you definitely should be checking with a doctor about, where their practices. More and more physicians are telling people to eat less sugar and pay attention to what the sugar that they're consuming is. That refined sugar is causing a lot of problems in our health, not just for diabetes, but for cancer and Alzheimer's. There's a lot of research out there in that manner. So for my daughter, she immediately went on a very clean diet, with the sweets being made with coconut sugar if she was having them. And it wasn't long at all before she was not pre-diabetic, and she's now 27 years old, and she's not been pre-diabetic or diabetic at all. So diet has so much to do with it, for type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
And it's such an epidemic in our country that, it's hard to push away foods that you've enjoyed, and sugar is very addictive. So that makes it harder to push it away. But there are a lot of alternatives. And, if you're going to take care of your health and make sure you're not heading down that path, you will kick it out the door.
No, for sure. Did you find that when she was minimizing or getting rid of, refined cane sugars, that she also maybe minimized some simple carbohydrates? Do you feel like that makes a big difference too in pre-diabetes? Or
I think so. It's all about just clean eating. What your carbohydrates are makes a big difference. And she was a dancer, and her goal was to be Clara and the Nutcracker. And just changing her diet, she lost a lot of weight, but eating very, very healthy. And she, within 2 years, was Clara and the Nutcracker. She accomplished this dream that, was a nice side effect of the fact that she had to change her diet and change her lifestyle from just indulging on all the treats that there were at school. I mean, I kept a pretty clean household, because that's always been important to me. But it's habit forming things, letting go of those, that really can help.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then what about in terms of any supplements or any nutritional supplements that you've found with pre-diabetics that help? Anything in particular that comes to mind? Or?
No, I wouldn't say so. Because my daughter was 9 years old at the time, she was taking a regular old multivitamin. Her doctor didn't suggest that she take anything besides that. I think, as people are in their older years, it's extremely important that you are following a plan of making sure that all your levels of calcium, vitamin D3, vitamin C, et cetera. I try to supplement for myself with a green drink that I take that really is full of a lot of those, and then add in some more for myself. But I really think the more you can get things from food, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, and it's hard. So in our house, we tend to throw a bunch of stuff in the blender or the Vitamix and down the hatch. So
yeah, just getting your blood work done and read by a really good functional doctor. I mean, I have a doctor who spends like an hour reading blood work, like it's the most fascinating novel ever, which I really love because he's always, oh, your D3 is not where it should be. Let's try the sublingual because it's not working with what you're taking. And, we make those adjustments. So I think it just can be so great to have a physician that is going to make sure you're absorbing what you need, not just getting it because you're putting it in your mouth. Is it doing what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, no, for sure. And then for those that might be listening to you as a potential, wanting somebody to get into the food market, what are some tips and tricks that you've kind of learned over the years that you wish you knew earlier when you were starting this company by yourself?
I would say go slow. There's a lot of trade shows out there and it gets very exciting. You're going to make this amazing booth and, give away a ton of product as people are walking in and hire a lot of people to have all that hype. And you're going through a lot of money doing things like that it's not that it doesn't make some difference, but there's so many things within the industry, especially the food industry, that to get on a shelf, you're going to have to give away, free fill for the first round you're on the shelf. They're going to need you every quarter to have all kinds of deals for them, et cetera. And so there's just a lot of ways to learn about it and take your time and know that you're building slowly and, you're just going to continue on that route.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really easy to spend too much too fast. And then you've got to, change direction. And, you certainly can't spend that kind of money every single time you want to change direction, add a product, change branding. In fact, you recently went through a brand change yourself. Tell us a little bit about that.
We did. We realized our Thins product, it's a very elegant and luxurious kind of experience versus some of the regular candy bars that are on the shelves. And so we wanted to make sure that we looked the part that we were portraying. And a lot of people enjoyed giving them as gifts. But, our packaging didn't look as much that way as we wanted. So we came up with new packaging. We just launched. And it took much longer to do that than we ever thought it was going to. So that, again, it takes a while. But, our new, well, you probably can't see that very well.
If you bring it maybe just a little bit closer.
Yeah, there's glare there. But, it's on our website. So we're going to have some really neat gift packaging coming up this year for the holidays. And so we're excited to be have that available, and people are loving our new packaging, which is great.
Oh, that's great. Anything on the horizon that you want to share with people that you're going to be rolling out or trying any new products or anything that are really, or you want
to? It's definitely on the back burner. Some things hopefully we'll be doing sometime soon with more adaptogens and more functional type ingredients. That'll be coming down the pike.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more fun to take supplements when they're in the form of chocolate. So maybe that's a whole nother idea.
Yes.
Well, good. Is there anything else you want to share that maybe I forgot to ask about? We really appreciate having you.
Let's see. Well, I guess, not only do you need to have the right kind of sugar to feed your body with health in mind, but you should be choosing things that have less sugar than the average product. For instance, on average, we have half the amount of sugar per serving than conventional bars do. And then, of course, we use the coconut sugar, which is low glycemic, and et cetera. But, looking at the labels on the back of packaging is very important. And looking at the amount of ingredients and making sure you know what the ingredients are, because there's about 100 names for sugar. Now, high fructose corn syrup, it might say on the front of a cereal box, no high fructose corn syrup. And then you turn it over, and on the back, there's 50 ingredients. And some of them are actually high fructose corn syrup. So I think you just really need to do your own. You need to be an advocate for your own health, your children's health, your spouses, parents, et cetera, by encouraging people to really know what they're eating and how to read labels.
Well, and even, something as simple as spaghetti sauce in the grocery store, if you're not careful, half of those have sugar in them too. So it's just, it's all over the place.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. Now, remind us again of the special that you have for the listeners, as well as your website.
Sure. So we have a code for 20% off. It's one-time use and will last to the end of the year. So the code is HELLO, HELLO, BB, as in Blissfully Better, 20, HELLO, BB 20. And you can find us at blissfullybetter.com. Follow us on Instagram at Blissfully Better, Facebook. Sign up for our newsletter on our website. We'd love to keep in touch and let you know all the new things coming along.
Super. And then we will have a free product giveaway here. So that'll be fun too, together. So thank you so much, Bonnie. We really appreciate having you on.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here.